Welcome to Mighty Tripod Acting Studio. My name is David Hogan. We're going to talk about the problems with using blue when you are filming self-taped auditions. All right, there's only a problem when you are using the automatic white balance setting on your camera or your smartphone. And sometimes there's not even a problem at all if you have already upgraded your lighting at home. But if you are making videos and you notice that there's some yellow, or that your skin tone is looking a bit yellow, or that things aren't looking as good as you think they should, there's probably something going on with white balance, and we're going to talk about how to deal with that. The first thing here I'm going to let you know is that we are filming under overhead lights, which is not ideal. So we're about to turn on these soft boxes. But I wanted to start here because this is the easiest way to see the problem with the white balance issue when using blue as a backdrop. And the color balance definitely started pretty yellow. It's trying to change exposure. It's trying to find accurate color. It's doing a halfway decent job, I think, but it's going to do an even better job once I turn on these soft boxes. And then when I show you one other trick that will help really tell your smartphone, especially if you're using an iPhone, this is the trick that I've found that works pretty well, because I'm trying to figure out, or I'm trying to teach you everything you can do so the editing process is either completely streamlined or as easy as possible, because we shouldn't have to spend hours in the editing bay to make self-tape videos. I'm not saying you shouldn't learn how to edit, because you should. Because once you know, it's pretty easy, and you can make a lot of tweaks with editing, but this is not a video about editing. So, I'm going to pause here, make a few quick tweaks. We're going to turn on these lights. Actually, I'll turn them on right now so you can see, while this is rolling, how much of a difference things make. All right, here we go. Here's that one. Here's this one. And you can already probably tell that white balance is looking a bit better. At least while I'm looking at my screen, I'm using the front-facing camera. What I can see looks fairly accurate, and I think that's mostly because we just have more light directed right at the face. And my face happens to be white-ish, right? So when it sees this color, white balance, a camera on automatic white balance, you're going to use a gray card or a white card to find accurate color. You will often bring something white or gray into the scene so the camera knows exactly how to deal with all the other colors that are presented. All right, hold that thought. I'll be right back. We are back, and here is the tip. Using the iPhone, this is the iPhone X, this is the front-facing camera. This is something you can do to, A, set the focus and set the exposure, and help you, or help your camera, know how to set an accurate spot for white balance to make your colors as nice as possible. Okay, I'm going to present a white piece of paper, which is essentially going to stand in as a white card, okay, for color, temperature, accuracy. And then I am just going to hold my finger on my iPhone screen, setting the AEAF lock function. I'm going to actually touch my face on the screen there. Hold it down for 1, 2. AEAF lock initiates. Drop the page. Check the image. Okay, now while this is locked, I can make an exposure adjustment right here on the camera by just touching the screen and either dragging my finger up or dragging my finger down. All right, so let's drag it up just a touch because I think it looks a little bit underexposed. All right, so by just looking, I think the image looks pretty good. So from here, my video is recording. I could shoot my audition tape just like this. I think it looks pretty decent. I have 2 lights. They are right here. They are close enough to touch. Right? I'm touching these lights. My camera is relatively close. I'm pretty close to the backdrop. I can touch the backdrop. I'll take a photo of this setup in a minute. By having everything this close, we are reducing shadows on the backdrop. I'm going to demo, or actually I'm going to test that theory right now when I turn off the overhead lights. Stand by. Okay, so here we are. The image still looks pretty good here, honestly. I can't I'll do a side-by-side in just a moment. But typically I find without overhead lights or without additional room lights or daylight, things can get a bit dark, especially for the backdrop. However, if you are experiencing that, just remember, drag camera and lights closer to that backdrop, and that'll get more light on the backdrop, okay? Because these compact fluorescent bulbs, they aren't super powerful, so the further they are away from you and your backdrop, the more the camera is going to have to work extra hard to set the exposure, which will degrade your image. Trust me. So just get everything pretty close. Now for your slate, if you need a full body slate, that's a whole nother beast, because obviously I need to back up the camera. Once I back up the camera, then suddenly all this stuff is in the frame. But getting back to my point of, now that this is still rolling, again, since I have the AE lock or the auto exposure lock initiated, I can lift my finger and give it a bit more brightness if I needed to. While we're here, if I have this exactly where I want it to be, more or less, exposure's locked, I am rolling. If I wanted more light on my backdrop, if I happen to have an extra light source, I could illuminate more of the backdrop, but I think it looks pretty good. If I had a third light and I wanted to do 3-point lighting, I might want to get a hair light going, get a little even more separation. But I think I'm pretty happy with how things are looking here. I'm not worried about that image. I think that image looks fine. It looks a little bit moody. But that's not, I'm working with this to give you an idea of what self-tapes can look like if you have appropriate lights. Even if you're filming with a blue backdrop, things can look just fine, especially if you use the white piece of paper trick to set your white balance and you use AEAF lock to make sure that you're getting enough exposure on your image, because if you're too dark and muddy, if the image is too dark, that's really not going to fly. It just doesn't look good. But what you can do right here on the camera is you can adjust the image. That's too bright, in my opinion. And again, I don't want to have to do any editing or fixing in post, as we say, if I don't have to. Right, the closer I get, I'm still looking pretty good. The further away, it looks pretty good back here as well. Okay, thanks for hanging out. If you have a comment, please leave it. If you like this video, click like. If your friends could benefit from it, please share it with your friends. All right, cheers. Be mighty.